Hobie wanted to cry out his hurt, but for some unknown reason he couldn't feel the urge. His mind was working, but he knew it was reality, but still he didn't want to consider it. The ramen he cooked for them to eat was cold. Hobie wanted to dive into her smile. He wanted to feel her in his embrace again, but Hobie took the blanket, which was still smelling like wine. He snuggled into the blanket, though it smelled of wine, but her warmth was missing. He could feel an emptiness in his heart, but he closed his eyes. He was trying his best to console himself. When knew Hobie was going to hate her, at the same time she knew Hobie's number. So it was quite useless to delete his number from her phone as she knew that her mind would remember that forever. She had already blocked herself from Hobie's phone. She had already directed the way of communication one way. When looked at Professor Lee and asked, "Will I ever be able to meet him again? Will you ever be let me to meet my husband again?" Professor Lee, "I'm not against of your love or your relationship, but I couldn't request him to leave you. I believe in destiny and I'm forcing you because you have qualified what your father couldn't achieve. But you could handle this situation in a better way." Professor Lee, when Appa is already feeling guilty, but trust me, I could never be able to ask Hosok to leave his wife. But he hasn't left me. Professor Lee, when husband leaves his wife or wife leaves her husband, it means there's no love. But believe me, I came here to ask for permission, but I could see in his eyes concern for you, love for you, and not now. When I was behaving so rudely, I knew I was wrong. But still, I want you to complete this MS from Hamburg. What's so special about UMCH Hamburg? Professor Lee, you have always asked me why I have neglected you. Are you ready to face my side of story? When? Are these connected? Professor Lee, I guess you are matured enough to hear this. Professor Lee, your mother and I were classmates, and only your mom had qualified for MS at UMCH, but she chose you over UMCH, though she tried her best to continue her studies. But you were born at the last day of her last exam, and she couldn't. She had cherished you with a broken heart. Dad, am I a love child? Didn't you marry my mom? Professor Lee, of course, we were married, but I was studying in another university and I couldn't take care of your mother because she had to live in Hamburg and I was in Korea. When you were not the first one who took care of me? Professor Lee, your mom had always cherished you and you resemble your mom. And unfortunately, I was the first one who could touch you. My exams were completed and I was with your mom. I still can remember your mom was preparing for her last exam day, but she couldn't. Professor Lee, you were born just half an hour before the exam. Why mom didn't complete it? Professor Lee, it was her decision. I insisted her, I requested her, but at the end of all, it was her decision. I tried to respect her decision, but I think I couldn't. In the other side, it was bright morning after a dark night. Hobie woke up and checked his phone. There was no messages from Wen. He got up from the bed and completed his morning routine. Hobie was matured enough to deal with his emotions. He made himself busy. He dived into his workaholic life. But he still misses Wen. Unconsciously, his mind had started making unnecessary plans of what to do and how to take revenge when he would meet Wen. It was almost 1 month. The time wasn't passing quickly. Wen had to struggle to survive in Hamburg. She was trying her best to adopt the new culture and the new environment. It's been almost 2 months and a casual day in Seoul. Hobie got to know that he was invited at UMCH Hamburg. Hobie knew it was the same university where Van was currently studying, but that was an university and a large number of students studied there. Hobie was hesitating. He didn't know what to do as he got no messages from her. The reader would ask even Hobie could take that step and message her, but why would he do that as Van chose her father over Hobie? She wasn't a little girl, she was a doctor. Moreover, Hobie wouldn't stop her from pursuing her studies at Germany. But Hobie loved her, and he still had the confidence that Van loved him too, so he decided to message her, and he was surprised as he saw that Van was blocked from his side. He was clueless at first and then realized that it was something done by Van. He unblocked her. In the other side, Van used to regularly send Hobie messages, sometimes voice messages too, and that day wasn't a normal day at all. She wanted to share it with Hobie, so she started writing. I was feeling dizzy in the morning. I didn't eat anything unhealthy last night, but I had to throw up several times. It felt nauseous, so I was taken to outpatient department by my roommate and I met a Korean doctor, currently an endocrinologist at LA. It was such a great feeling to say "Annyeonghaseyo" and she greeted me back. We had a great conversation and she informed me that Dr. Jang Ho-sok is invited at UMCH Korea, but I felt nausea in spite of being happy. She checked me roughly and told that I'm pregnant. My period is delayed and I didn't get it in Hamburg. Oh, does it mean I'm pregnant? I didn't get the courage to take the HCG test kit. You know, she shared her story. She was pregnant when she was a freshman and she had miscarriage. She was young then. Her uterus was affected and the probability of her getting pregnant is very low. My mother was also pregnant when she was studying in UMCH. She was not able to live with my father even if I am pregnant. Don't even know if you will ever unblock me. Don't know whether you would see this message, but I would like to choose both my child and my studies, but I don't know how. How would it gonna work? I don't even know what you would think about me. What would I do if you denied to be responsible for the baby? Mine are hard and paining. Signs are clear enough to understand that I'm pregnant, but I don't know. I miss you. Good night. It was almost lunchtime in Seoul. Howie was still confused about the invitation from UMCH and a message notification popped up. It was from Van. Howie was in a conference, but as he noticed that, his mind blanked out. He was in deep thoughts. Does she block herself from my number just to hide from me? He was nervous as hell to open the message, and within no minutes he confirmed the faculty that he had accepted the invitation of UMCH. One was badly expecting Hobie as she knew he was invited. She decided to take the HCG test after the conference. She wanted Hobie by her side, but she didn't know Hobie might attend, might not attend the conference. She was lost in her thoughts. Meanwhile, in Seoul, Hobie had already packed up his things and left for Hamburg. Hobie couldn't suppress his smile as he was only 15 hours flying distance away from Van. He wanted to meet Van, he wanted to hug her, and this 15 hours was the slowest 15 hours of Hobie's life. The flight landed on Hamburg airport. It was only 22 minutes driving distance left between them. It was quite impossible for him to stop smiling. He got into the car and reached to the university campus. Hobie was walking towards the chancellor's office, but his foot stopped as he saw Van. She was sitting with her head placing on her knees as if she was in a lot of pain. He looked at her very carefully to confirm it was Van. He thought he might be hallucinating. He was standing at a little distance from her. A good-looking man hurriedly came and put her head on his shoulder, and Hobie was sure now as Van's face was exposed. His heart skipped a beat as he saw Van in another man's embrace. Hobie realized that he had to report to the Chancellor's office. He took his steps forward. Hobie was heartbroken. Without knowing the situation clearly, he had already considered that the person was Van's new love interest, but he noticed a female doctor. She looked so Korean, and that's why Hobie looked back at her. The female doctor rushed to Van and rubbing her feet. She looked tensed, but she wasn't Van's elder sister. Hobie frowned. He knew he was getting late for the Chancellor's office, but he was now in doubt if Van was in some danger. Hobie walked towards them and greeted, "안녕하세요. What's wrong with her?" Hobie looked at Van's face. She was exhausted. She was lying on the bench. Hobie looked at the man in whose lap Van's head was placed. The female doctor replied, "I guess she's pregnant and she might be going through some very bad morning sickness and her blood pressure is extremely low. Me and my boyfriend wanted to just have a chat with her, but she's a junior doctor and I guess she's not living with her partner. That's why she's so weak." Van's eyes were closed, but she could hear all the conversation and she thought she was hallucinating as she heard Hobie's voice. She opened her eyes, but as Hobie was standing on her headside, she couldn't see him, and the next moment she could feel the urge of throwing up again. She hurriedly rushed to the washroom. The female doctor rushed to help her in the washroom. The female doctor's boyfriend. Hope Van's boyfriend would not repeat the same mistake that I have done. Hobie. Your face is kind of familiar, and may I know what mistake did you make? The female doctor's boyfriend. 안녕하세요. I'm Park Jimin. Hobie. Are you the idol Park Jimin? Jimin. Ne? Hobie. What did you do wrong? Jimin. I don't know. I think I didn't care about her sentiments when she was pregnant, and I was busy in my respective life and I was unaware about her mental and physical condition. Hobie. You mean to say the doctor? Jimin. Her name is also Van. She met that kid here. She is representing LA, California. And what about you, mister? Hobie. I'm Jung Ho Sok. I'm representing Seoul, South Korea. And that kid's husband, Jimin. Oh, huh? Really? But then why didn't you go to help her? Hobie. Because it's ladies' washroom. Jimin. I think you are jealous seeing her in my lap, but trust me, I didn't have any bad intention. She's extremely weak and man, why I'm even saying this? You're also a doctor. Hobie. I don't know. I don't know really what to do, how to react. I'm just clueless. Jimin. Are you doubting about her loyalty? Hobie. No. If she's pregnant, I know I'm the father of the baby. More than that, I know she would not allow anybody else, but still, it seems like something I can't quite figure out. Jimin. When we forgive, we heal. I know there are many more situations than trust issues. She might be wrong, but first, just let her to tell her side of story. But put yourself in her situation and then decide. Hobie. Indeed, what you're saying is true, but how? I can't force her. She had blocked herself from my phone, and as I got to know about that, as I unblocked her, I started receiving messages. But I don't know the story from the beginning. Jimin. Ask her for her phone, but first take care of her. As a doctor, take care of her. I was thinking to ask for my girlfriend to take care of her because I don't want anyone to go through what we went through as a couple. After a few minutes, Wen came out from the washroom while probably typing something on the phone. Hobie looked at her. She was exhausted, she was weak, and she looked like she badly needed her beloved warmth right beside her. Hobie stepped forward and took her into his embrace. The female doctor was shocked while Jimin was smiling happily seeing them together. The female doctor was about to ask something, but her boyfriend stopped her. Don't spoil the moment. He's her husband, Dr. Jang Ho-sok. He will take care of her. The endocrinologist smiled in satisfaction and went out from there with her boyfriend. Van's phone screen light was still on. Hobie glanced and could see a unsent message was being typed. Van, aren't you angry on me? Hobie, yes. Yes, I am, but first, tell me, how are you feeling now? Van, have you reported? Hobie, I have mailed him. And would you be able to stay with me tonight? Van, aren't you angry? Hobie, answer me yes or no. Van, yes, and want to stay with you forever. Hobie, can we have a little conversation while driving? Van, about? Hobie, about, I don't know, so I'm pregnant. Van looked at him. I think, but actually, I was thinking to take the HCG test. Hobie, is it mine? Van, will you believe me if I say yes? Hobie, I am willing to, I guess. Van, don't you want to take a test? Hobie, why can I sense insecurity? My Van has never made me insecure. Ah. The car was stopped in front of the hotel where Hobie was going to stay. They got out of the car and Hobie checked in. Through the whole time, Wen only could feel Hobie was more than angry. Wen could feel that Hobie was brutally hurt. And he was just trying to behave calm because in his eyes, Wen was pregnant. Hobie knew it was entirely his duty to take care of Van, but actually he wanted to be kissed by his wife too, and as soon as he opened the door of the hotel room, he could feel a warm pair of lips shiver on his lips. He closed his eyes, but she just pecked and put her head on his shoulder. Hobie frowned as he was unaware of the fact that Van was trying to suppress her urge to throw up. Being unsatisfiedly satisfied with her move, Hobie gently patted on her shoulder, and then he realized that she was not in that much comfortable position. Hobie hurriedly carried her to the washroom and